Nice, buddy. All right.
We're live.
Oh, we got to do
Live. What's up, everybody?
Live.
Oh,
Sweet, man.
yeah, it's awesome.
Nice, good stuff. Everybody, thank you for joining. You guys are awesome.
Stuff.
All right, I got my man Cale right here too. Check him out. Check him out. Check him out.
I'm right here. Hey, what's up, everybody?
I got my man Cale right here too. Check him out. Check him out. Check him out.
That's me. It's funny. It's delayed right now, so this is perfect.
Yeah, cool. Everybody, thank you for joining. I love you guys so much. I appreciate the love. Appreciate you taking out some time right now just to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Justin, this is awesome, man. I'm pumped, man. I'm really so we got a lot to talk about because you just moved from what I think LA to New York.
I was in San Diego for
Okay.
the past 3 years, and then I moved back. So I'm originally from New York.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm in the house I grew up in right now, and I am going to be here for a few months, starting a new job, and then luckily after these few months, I'm able to do that job remotely. So then I'm going to take off after here. Me and my fiance are going to go live in. The plan right now is to go live in a few different cities for a couple months at a time, and then probably do that for maybe 10 months to a year. And then at the end of that year, from those cities, we're going to pick which place we love the most. And then we're going to then settle and move into that city.
So what's on the list? Are you gonna share or what?
Yeah, totally. So a few of the main ones are Austin, Texas. One of my best friends from high school, he lives there with his wife. She's awesome. Love them both. They're great. I have another buddy, a really good friend too, who might move there as well. And so that's one. And then we're also considering Asheville, North Carolina, which I've been to before. It's awesome there.
I love it there so much.
Right? Just a good vibe. It's like chill. You're in the mountains. And my fiance's sister lives there with her husband and 4 kids, and they're amazing. So that's good. And then we're also considering Greenville, South Carolina, because it's just about an hour away from Asheville. Her sister has talked about maybe moving there. And it's supposed to just be like a young and like upcoming place. It's supposed to have like a lot of restaurants and just, it's a good spot. And the real estate there right now is on the low end. So trying to get into a place, kind of early. And then we've also considered, a few other cities that we would just go live in that we know that we probably wouldn't move to. Cause it's like, hey, why not at least go live there? We've talked about maybe going down to like the Keys in Florida, maybe going to Denver. Those are probably the top ones right now. But you know what, man, we're just kind of going with the flow, with like whatever, we have like this tentative plan, but whatever feels good, whatever feels right is what's going to direct us, so as things kind of just manifest and happen, we're going to go in that direction.
I mean, that's the way to go, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, that worked out really well. We were in New York City for years before moving out to San Diego, and we knew we wanted to move out of the city, but we just didn't know where for a little while. And at the time, we considered Austin because my friend was still there, and we were just keeping our minds open and keeping options open. And then one day, my brother walked into the apartment, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm moving to San Diego." And me and my girlfriend at the time looked at each other. We're like, boom, like let's do that. You know what I mean? So we knew we wanted to leave, but we just wanted to keep things open. And then San Diego flowed into our lives. And that was one of the best decisions of my life, of our life collectively. It was an incredible time in San Diego. It was a time for just like immense growth. It was great there.
I was out in LA on Tuesday.
Right.
And I've never been out past Colorado. Like it's the farthest I've ever gone. Colorado, Arizona is the farthest I've ever gone. So the weather out there is beautiful. Tell me about this new job. Tell me if you care to share.
Yeah, of course. So it is in the solar industry. So for the past year, so about how long ago? Over a year ago, I got laid off from my job. And with that, I, had to find a new path. And I just really tried to be as positive as possible and just keep my mind moving forward and not focus on the past. And I started my own small business doing social media marketing and lead generation. And I started doing them for solar companies specifically.
Okay.
And yeah, so I mean, solar it's a booming industry. My brother works in the solar industry. And so that's what I was doing for a while. And then really honestly with COVID, it kind of opened this opportunity for me to also be a solar rep or a solar professional. So what that means that, so I'm in New York right now again, and most solar reps, they go door to door and they knock. So for me, I'm excited about this because it's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. I'm going to get a ton of no's all the time. And I'm excited just to be disciplined and to push past that, have a positive mindset and just, be successful. And so I'm going to knock here for, like I said, 3 to 4 months. And then we're going to move, like I mentioned, and then I'm able to do the job remotely. So everything can be done through phone call, through video call. So I can talk to homeowners over the phone. I can show them their design and just get into everything with them. And lucky enough, really being able to do that remotely. And that opportunity only really opened up because of COVID. And, people really had to adapt to doing more Zoom calls and to doing things virtually and more digitally. So it's, it's been a crazy time. And, it just, again, just trying to keep a positive mindset and just, really look at the good that's happening, at the positive things that are happening and taking advantage of those opportunities.
I love it, man. The whole journey is exciting. You said you were moving, and I didn't realize. I thought it was just in the area. And next thing you know, it's kind of, I don't know if we passed each other or not on the way, but it kind of seemed like we did. When you texted me and said, "Hey, you're moving to New York," I was like, "Holy smokes, man!" Every single one of those places. I don't know much about the Keys or Austin. I've never been there, but Asheville, Greenville, and Denver, man, you can't go wrong with all that stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited. And I've been to Austin a few times and it's been amazing, man. It's just people there just have, just a very open mind. It feels like it's like a young, just accepting environment.
Yeah.
One of their slogan a few years ago was "Keep Austin Weird." And I'm all about that. You know what I mean? Just keeping weird is being yourself, being, transparent and being creative and stuff like that. So it's definitely a cool city.
So you said something there, keep Austin weird. Obviously, I don't think you came up with it, but this is something that comes up in my head all the time is as you start to, I'm 29. How old are you again? I can't remember how old you are, but I'm 29.
I'm 33.
33. So we're similar in age. And I'm learning about who I am and stuff like that. And keeping up with that is it's everybody wants to be normal, it seems like, and they want you to be normal. But the reality is that's not who you are. Waving to everyone. The reality is that's not, you got to find who you are and you got to be weird. And so the thing about keeping Austin weird is it keeps Austin creative. It keeps it interesting. It keeps it dynamic. And it really allows for growth, which is a lot of fun. So keep weird. Would you say that you had that journey too? Hey, I'm trying to be normal, or has weird always been kind of your thing?
I feel like when I was younger, I probably wanted to be more normal and, make sure I was accepted and not go, I was really shy when I was younger. So not, go too out of the box and too out of the norm. But I mean, I'm a big advocate and a big fan of people truly being themselves. You know what I mean? And if that's considered weird, awesome, then do that. That to me, weird is just considered unique and original.
Yes.
So for me, yeah, I think, keep Austin weird. And in my mind sometimes too, I'm was that weird? Not in a weird off way, but just in a weird, my own, unique self and a way for me just to express who I am. That type of weird in every single person I am all about.
So you said who I am there. So who are you, Justin? I mean, obviously you're live on your IG and you got a bunch of fans on there with the Spread Love movement. And I'm assuming that's a part of who you are, but kind of who is Justin?
It really, on the Spread Love movement is a major part of just who I am and who I am to my core. And I guess, who am I? I'm someone who just wants to give back good energy to this world. I'm someone who wants to just really make a difference in people's lives and create more happiness and love and kindness and good energy as much as humanly possible. I want to have a majorly positive effect on this earth. And, you know, part of me is, I really just try to have a positive mindset as much as possible. And like everybody else, I get down, you know, everything doesn't always work out the way that I want it to, but those moments are good too, because like in those moments, it shows you that, you know, we're just like everybody else and we all go through this, and it's important to pick yourself back up. It's like everybody, that literally happens to everybody. So are you going to be the person to, you know, take a good step forward and be positive and move on? Are you going to let this destroy you and eat away at you? So those moments are really good. And so many times in life too, and I'm a firm believer, the quote unquote, like bad situations that have happened to you, most cases, that's actually the stuff, that's like the thing that propelled you, you know, to where you needed to be. I got laid off from my job, like I said, over a year ago, and that has put me in starting my own business and being able to spend more time and spread love movement, and then have this opportunity too. So it's really, you know, what you make of it. And that's really who I am and who I try to be all the time. And, you know, I'm someone too, who just is like, I just try to have a very peaceful and loving mindset, because that's not always who I used to be. I used to have a bad temper back in the day. And I realized that negativity and that energy was just not for me and not who I wanted to be at all anymore. So I really, you know, I try to meditate every day. I try to do yoga at least a few times a week, just to keep, you know, that literally that quiet mindset where my brain isn't chattering at me all the time, and just, you know, live in a world of peace. You know, everything around you could be in turmoil and going crazy, but it's up to you. It's your decision to have that inner peace. And then, you know, I'm someone who I'm constantly working at being disciplined always, you know, and I still have a lot to go. And, you know, just always, I just want to be someone who is just, you know, anytime I walk into a room or anytime I have a conversation with someone, I'm leaving them on a good note. I'm having a positive impact in their life. And overall, I just want to be a good person, you know, and show people, you know, that example so that they know that it's real and it exists. And you know, that is a path that they can also go as well.
I love it. You kind of said something there. It's like, hey, I'm going to kind of wrap this all up. You talked about like, we all kind of get off path. And some of it is like, it's a fine line, because you and I have similar ideas. Like, we want people to be happy, and we want them to be weird because we want them to be authentic. And we don't really know what that looks like for them, but we just want to be an advocate for them. Right. And sometimes what I think about when you said, hey, when I was younger, I didn't always have that way. I had a little bit more of a negative mindset. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be a little bit more normal. And then eventually got to the point, it seems as if sometimes having that positive attitude on social media creates this expectation in the individual that I've always got to be happy, right? So I kind of feel like there's a balance of, you know, as much as being positive is a fine line of showing a little bit of the softer side, because that exists too. And then it's how to cultivate, which it seems like to me, you've cultivated a muscle through discipline, through practices, to then find more ways of daily happiness and daily joy. I was curious to know a little bit more of the way, and you kind of referred to what I think in my mind is Ryan Holiday's "The Obstacle Is the Way," right? Like,
yes, I love that book.
Yeah, I mean, and that's become so true, and it happens in a lot of things, man. I'll just share a quick story. Obviously, I was telling this, we moved, and I was a little nervous. I'm like, how am I going to make this few extra bucks? I'm taking off work right now. I'm going out here for some context. I'm leaving Ohio to fly to LA with a friend to buy a used minivan that we've never seen sight unseen and drive it back to Ohio and do it all in like 72 hours. And it's like, how am I going to pay my rent this week? I've taken off work. I'm doing this thing. This is just crazy to me. I just don't understand. And you get out there and you go through the experience and you're like, okay, this has kind of been set up. It's an opportunity, kind of like you said, it's an opportunity to go to San Diego. It's an opportunity to come back to New York. It's an opportunity to get a new job. And so it's like, okay, I'll just embrace it. I'll just embrace all of it. And day 2 of the trip, I had like $10. I'm like, I don't need to be spending $10 in Vegas. I put $10 down on Red 7 on roulette with the encouragement of my friend, and I actually hit. And it's like, I hit and won $350. And it's just like, we think the worst case scenario in our head a lot of times. And it's like, sometimes you just have to keep going and be ultra present. And so obviously with some meditation, you're bringing yourself back to present, finding some balance. But I didn't know if there was any other ways that you've kind of through the journey cultivated that, or is it was just kind of forced upon you?
I just want to touch on on the meditation part and being present in the moment. That is something that I am actively working on, and it's not easy. It's not. A lot of times, like I said, like our brain it's always racing, and a lot of times it's racing with, unfortunately, negative thoughts. Oh my gosh, like when's that this goes wrong, or how can I prepare for this so it's not a disaster, or you're looking at things in the past of how come this didn't go that way, like what could I have done differently. And it's good to reflect on certain things, so that you can be prepared, but it's really important to not be inundated with those thoughts constantly. And meditation and yoga is really something that has helped me quiet that part of myself. And by quieting that part of our brain, it allows us to be more in the moment, right? So when I'm sitting here talking to you, or I'm doing anything, we are where our mind is, right? So if I'm sitting here and listening to you, but I'm off somewhere else thinking about, did I wrap everything up in California when I left? Like, is everything cool? Did I shut off my AT&T service? You know what I mean? It's like, that's where I am. I'm not here with you. And being present in the moment, I think, is just so important, because when you're present in the moment, you get to experience things, you know what I mean? And when you're not present, you may miss these things that if you were present would be so transparent, they'd be right in front of you and you would notice them. And then they could be opportunities that could take you somewhere that you never could have imagined that you could have gone. And it's just so important to be present. And I know a lot of people say this, but our life is right now. So, anything else was in the past, anything else is in the future. What we have is literally this present moment. So why not be in it? You know what I mean? Why not be totally here, getting the most out of every single moment that we can? So that is really, kind of a thought that I wasn't even aware of. And through a book, the author is his name is Michael A. Singer. And he has a couple books. One is called The Surrender Experiment, which is phenomenal. And, his books have really, really helped me, because in his books, he talks about the constant chatter in your mind, and then how to really try to put that at ease and how to really, really be more present. So through books, through yoga, through meditation, those things have really helped me. And I think just like as I'm getting older and as I'm talking to people like you, people with a similar mindset, it just reiterates that concept and that idea more and more in my mind. And it brings my awareness more and more to it. So the more that I'm focusing on it, the more that I'm thinking about it, it becomes more of my life just naturally,
Yeah. But it's interesting because you think about you are where your thoughts are. And that makes, I take notes during my podcast just to write down some questions and stuff. And one of the things is like, when you're really present, like one, find something that most people know, and some people I guess don't. I don't like to generalize there, but what the flow state is, right? When you're in the flow state, that's when the thoughts actually aren't there. So one of the things that I've been encouraging myself, and then obviously through my podcast and everything else, is like, how do I find and participate in more things in which I find flow, and be okay with doing that. And then identifying, I'm not sure which book I got it from or which podcast I heard it from. It's like, it's very common for people to be at work thinking about their family, and then being at home with their family thinking about work. And it's really, and I was trying to pull from you a little bit of where you kind of, what the real tangible practice is for you to really pull back into present, and also being, you did allude to just being aware. And I think that reminds me of a couple things. Is one, it's like there's kind of two parts to it, and you kind of got to grow through them all. And the first one is just like having the awareness that I'm not present, right? I'm somewhere else. The second is, this is where my mind goes back to baseball, because I was a college baseball player, and I was an infielder. And so if I was playing third base and I had bobbled a ball, a very common thing with younger athletes, and probably all the way through, is that they bobble the ball and then they freak out because they realize they bobbled the ball. They've made a mistake, they made an error, and then they grab it and they make another mistake. They compound the mistake because they're in reaction mode. And one of the things is that once you develop the awareness muscles to say, oh, I'm not present, it's now like, go back to the baseball. It's like, once I bobbled it, I have to still make another actionable, like, smart decision. Like, this is now my next opportunity, versus kind of falling downhill because you've made one mistake. And so I think that's one of the biggest things is like, maybe like for me, it's like having that awareness and then having some sort of shift. I think it was from Willpower Doesn't Work by Benjamin Hardy, which was like creating new triggers, like if this, then that. So if I notice myself with a jealous thought, for example, that's something that I deal with a lot. Then I'm going to be grateful for something that I'm obviously grateful for.
Yes.
And so that's what's bringing us back to the present moment, because it's bringing you back into that state of saying, okay, I can be here. I can enjoy this moment because I'm safe or whatever it is you're looking for. So I didn't know if you had a practice. One of my other practices is improv. Nice. I started about 2 years ago. Obviously haven't been doing anything with Corona. But the biggest thing about the improv is the more that you listen and the more information that you get, the better you are able to have a better scene or punchline or joke, because you're getting all the information out before you skip ahead. And it starts to get a little deeper and a little deeper. And that's when the real beautiful improv happens. So I didn't know if you had like a skill or a practice that you do that's maybe playful and fun.
Yeah, no, I feel you, buddy. I think that's great, right? And that's a good idea. It's like, okay, what is that trigger to bring me back? So I think, and you touched on this too, the first step of any of this is awareness, right? So you could be not present. My mind used to be going like crazy, and I wasn't even aware that it was doing that. You know what I mean? So by reading that book by Michael A. Singer, that was the first step. It brought my awareness to it. Okay, this is happening. So you need that first in order to make a change and to make an adjustment. And, you know, really do meditation in the morning. When I start in the morning, I start with just breathing exercises, and I follow my breath to try to bring me in the moment. And a lot of times my mind goes to wherever it goes to. And then it's a good practice in that, because I catch myself and then I'll bring myself back. So just even doing that almost every morning, you know, going and coming back, that just kind of feeds into my everyday. And because it's something you know, your brain is a muscle, and I am focusing on that, right? And doing that then. So later during the day, it just kind of happens almost on its own, you know, because it is something that I do practice. And what I try to do too is, you know, when I have a negative thought about something, I'm in a situation where there's not something that, you know, that triggers me. It's just when I have that thought, a lot of the times I'll be aware of it, and then I'll just know, okay, like this is not the thought that I want to have. This is not healthy for me or for that person or for anything at all. Like this negative energy and thought is not going to bring anything good into this life. It's not going to help me solve this problem. It's not going to make me feel better. It's going to do nothing good at all. So when I have those thoughts, I'm like, okay, like snap out of it. Like this is not good for you. And then in that moment, to go, okay, now focus on how this can be, focus on where you can pull the positive out of it. You know what I mean? Focus, instead of your mind being zoned in on the negative. Okay, well, I keep only seeing this. Now, how can I see, where's the positive in the situation? And I'm telling you, it's always there.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Always. It's always, and it's just really about where you focus. And like, I want everyone to know, we have control over this. You're not a victim to the universe. You're not a victim to life. Like when your mind is going off on these negative tangents and these negative thoughts, you have to stop yourself. And instead, okay, how can this be, you know, how can this be something positive? What good can come from this? How can I feel grateful for this? And even if you're so deep in it in that moment that you can't find anything good in it, and that will happen, you know, think about something else that you can be grateful for. You know, think about something else good in your life, and just bring yourself moments of happiness and positive energy and love. And that will transform your life, and that will take you on such another path. You know, instead of just rattling and going down that path of negativity, you can pull away from that. You open this door to just so much more and such better things. And then if you can just go that way and follow that path, your life will drastically change. Like there's no doubt about it.
When you use the word more, you'll have so much more. What is the more that you're referring to?
So in terms of just things you can be,
because you'll have so much more. And I think what I'm hearing from you, I'm trying to get like out in some words. Yeah. It's like, because I think as if I was a listener to this, it's like,
yes,
okay, I'm building this, and I'm able to kind of come out of this. One, I definitely want to like what I hear you saying is that you have to have the ability to separate yourself, who you are, from the thoughts that you're having. And like, realize that they are separate from you. Whatever they are, this is whatever your belief is. They're separate from you. They aren't you.
Exactly.
And you have the choice to do that. And then you said once you understand that you have the choice, your life opens up to so much more. And I'm just curious as to if you could put some other words to the more.
Yeah, totally, buddy. So the way I think about this a lot, honestly, and I guess an easy way to try to understand it is if, 50% of your life, you are thinking negatively and you're thinking about the bad stuff that's happening to you, and, you're low energy and you're just not feeling good. 50% of your life is that way. And that is going to control a lot of the interactions, a lot of the things that happen to you. That is going to affect you on an everyday basis. You could, bump into somebody and you're in a negative space, and that could be the worst interaction ever. If you're in a good space, who knows where that could lead you? Maybe that person could be your next best friend. Maybe that person can turn you on to yoga. Maybe that person can turn you on to a job opportunity. Maybe it'll just be a beautiful moment of 2 minutes with each other that'll just make you feel better throughout the day. So instead of spending your time on, 50% of your life, and I just use 50% just because it's like an easy number, to get. And instead, if you take that away and you don't spend that 50%, say instead of a 50%, you spend 40% of that time focusing on the positive. Think about how many more good things can come into your life, right? It's literally your entire life, and our entire life is made up of time, and our time is valuable. And it really depends on what we're focusing on and what we're thinking about during that time, which will then manifest into our reality. So when you're spending the majority of your time focusing on things that are positive and things that you can be grateful for and things that you can be happy for, so many more of those good things can come into your life. I'm a firm believer of like the law of attraction. And when you focus on gratitude and the positive, you are just going to bring more and more and more of that stuff into your life. And you're going to have these opportunities and these circumstances that are going to happen to you. They're going to feel like miracles. They're going to feel like this crazy, awesome thing. And it really, to me, just goes back to you having that sort of a mindset, because then you're able to bring those situations and more of that stuff into your life.
I'm in 100% with you on there. And one of the things I think that I'm hearing from you is just like, and something that I think we just really relate with one another on is just having more moments of joy. Like I see as I reflect back on my journey, it was always like in 6 months, in 3 months, in 5 years, and after this, and it's like, that's all future-based stuff. And while it's great, and it's great to be on the macro level and work towards common goals of getting into college, or, selling your first book, or writing your first book, or blah, 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 on and on and on. I think we have a similar mission, is like, how do we bring more moments of joy? Because over time, on a micro level, like you said, like if I'm walking across, I see this guy on TikTok, by the way, that's why it makes me think of this. He's walking across the US, right? It's like, if he just looked at getting across the US and he related it to being present, to doing that in this moment, it's impossible to get across the US in a moment, right? But it's built upon moments. And it's like, I think a lot of times that 50% of negativity is caused by anxiety or past reflections of living not in the present and bringing yourself here. So on a micro level, one of the things that I had to curate for myself was, how do I experience more moments of joy throughout my day? And that was the question, that was the doorway for me into figuring out what works for me. And so that's kind of the things that I pose to people, is like, ask yourself those types of questions. What have you already experienced up to this time? Because at least it's been one. I don't know what it is, whether it was a meal or whatever. You've had at least a moment of joy. How do you build and follow that down the rabbit hole a little bit? So I appreciate you kind of bringing up the micro level, just like moment.
Yeah. And you touched on on anxiety, and anxiety is just one of like the worst energies that we can feel. And anxiety is based on you worrying about the future, you worrying about this thing happening or not happening, you creating, and I do this too. And this is a practice you have to work on all the time. And it's something I am constantly working on for everybody. Like, this doesn't just happen. You have to actively work on this. And when I catch myself, thinking about the future and feeling anxious about it, and creating these situations of which 99% of them aren't even going to happen. I'm living in this fake reality in the future, and I'm feeling anxious and I'm feeling bad about it. And there's a really good chance that that's not even going to happen. So that's what so by bringing yourself back into the present, that removes anxiety. You're feeling anxiety because you're not in the moment. You're thinking about these future things that may or may not happen. And that's why it's just so important to live in the moment, because you rid yourself a lot of anxiety. And anxiety is really, again, one of the worst energies. And I know it is something that is debilitating for so many people. And it's something, I just obviously don't want that to be the case. I want people to live a happy, fulfilling life and not be living in this anxious and in this anxious state and be living in turmoil. I want them to be happy. I want them to feel good, and then when we look at things in the past, when we're focusing on the past, which is already done, there's nothing you can do about it. That's when we start to, you can feel anxiety about the past. You can feel depressed about the past, about these things that are over with, and you have no control over. So I really am, this whole idea of really living in the moment and, more going with the flow of the universe and flow of life is something that's really, really touched me, and really something that I'm trying to, just push out to the world as much as I can, because I see what it's done for me. I see the happiness that it's brought me, and I see the calmness that it's brought to my life, even though it's something I'm still working on.
Of course.
Anxious thoughts maybe have diminished 15%. You know what I mean? It's not like they're not there anymore. They're there, but it's just something you got to work on.
And I've heard this plenty of times before. It's like, it's the time, right? You said it before. It's how much time do we have on this planet, and like how much time do I want more moments throughout the time. And you spoke to it earlier. It's like it's the repetitions of coming back to the middle, right? Coming back to what you call the present moment, and it only happens through like repetitions of coming back to the middle. And it's like I think about it now. I was actually taking notes, and like kind of how I plan my day is when I wake up, I kind of think about the future. Like, what do I want for my day? But then I kind of leave it there. I kind of just like throw it out, and I'm like, okay, I want this. And then I just like live it, right? And then at the end of my day, on a general sense, I reflect and say, did I do this? Whether that was, my week, I started on Sunday and I come back on Sunday and I, future based, and I live it all week, and then I think about it. But it really happens on a bigger scale, like a yearly scale. And it also happens on a minute to minute and hour by hour. Like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? It's like, oh, back to center, back to center, back to center.
Yeah, and I think it's important to make it clear. I'm not saying, and we're both not saying, obviously, to, never consider your future. And not that at all. Yeah. It's just don't let it consume you. So many times we're literally trapped in that thought all day, or for majority of the day. It's good to reflect on that and know what you want, but just to not have it consume you. Like every day when I wake up, most days, I meditate, like I said. So in that meditation, I do breathing exercises to, bring myself more in the moment. I think about the things that I'm grateful for, because that just puts you in like the best place ever. You know what I mean? When you can really think about and feel the things that you're grateful for, it's unreal. It's crazy, man. It just gives you the best energy. And again, instead of me focusing on the bad, negative things, I'm focused on things to be happy for. And I'm focused on things that I love and that I feel great about. And again, wouldn't you want most of your life being focused on that than on the opposite? And then after I focus on that, I go into a level of manifesting my dreams, really. And I focus on, where I want to be and what do I want to achieve. And that could either be that day, or it could be, where I want to be within the next 6 months or a year or 2 years. And sometimes it's like, I don't even put a time frame on it. I just feel, I literally have my eyes closed. I feel where I want to be, and I connect with those feelings of me already having it, so it's not something that's detached from me. I literally feel like I'm already living in that reality, because to me, I know that reality already exists. Time just has not caught up to it yet. So that I think that's like the magic in it too. Again, you're not being, okay, one day this is going to be great. I hope I get there. You're in it. Like I'm imagining all the things, I'm visualizing the things that I want as if they're present right now. And I feel the feelings of how I'm going to feel in that reality when I'm living in it and when it is actually happening. And then I feel grateful for those things as if they already happened. So that just makes it so real for me on those days. So like I said, I do focus on things in the future, You know what I mean? And I think it is good to have a plan and to have a vision. You need that in life, but just don't let it take you down. You know, don't feel so anxious about it. Have these ideas and have these plans. And if things don't go that way, don't feel negative. Don't feel anxious. Just go with the flow. You know, understand that, like, okay, you know, this is just a part of life. Like when I got laid off a year and a half ago, in my mind that day, that wasn't like the best case situation, but I am so grateful that that happened, honestly, because it's taken me on this whole other path. So when things don't go the way that you know, entirely plan them out to be, it's okay. You know, just go with that flow and see where that can take you. Don't fight it. Don't fight that. Like that's the universe. That's life happening. And you trying to fight it isn't going to work. You're in it. You're in that moment. Those things are happening to you. So you're saying, no, this isn't good. And you trying to fight it, that's not going to change anything. So why not think about it more positively and from a good perspective and see the good in it, and then go with the flow of that and let that take you, you know, to your next step and to your next journey.
I love it. What were you like as a kid? And because I'm curious to know like a story. Because I'm curious, did this mindset come because of you being laid off? Did it come because you have a mentor or your parents and your family is like this? I have a friend who is like, he's just like by far one of the top 5. I mean, he is one of the happiest people I've ever met in my entire life. And it's just, he's always been that way. And you know, it doesn't always happen that way. And I believe it's because of his family. So I'm curious, were you just in an environment, like that's why I was curious about being a kid and like the journey there.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. So when I was younger, I was a happy person, but I had a really bad temper where, you know, most of the time I was happy and, you know, so when I was younger as a kid, I was super shy, insanely shy up until maybe 4th, 5th grade.
Okay. Yeah.
Really shy. And then I always had the temper though. And then past there, you know, I started to open up and be more outgoing, but I always had the temper. It was always there, you know, in social situations. I was really very outgoing. I was really kind, but I would have these moments of just explosion, you know, and they just were not healthy and they were not good for me or anybody. And I think being outgoing, you know, kind of helped me. And I have always been a happier person. Like everyone else, I have my times that aren't so great, but I think overall, I always have just been, I've had good energy. You know, I'm in a good mood more times than I'm not. And that's kind of been the case, I feel like, always. And then I feel like in my early 20s is when I really started to step away from the temper. I really started to like work through that, luckily. And one of the biggest things for me through that was, it was like that trigger that we kind of talked about before, was as soon as I would feel it come, I luckily was able to work this into my mind, and I would think about the future. You know, I would think about the consequences of these actions, where before I would be so, you know, caught up in that moment and so angry and have such a temper, I would explode. And then working on it, and it took years to be like, okay, you know, when you feel that, it would literally be a split second that I'd be like, think about the consequences, think about the future. And then it would really help me calm down. Because when I would lose my temper after it, I always felt terrible. You know, I felt really bad about myself. I felt bad about how I acted towards that person. And it put me in a place of just very low negative energy. And so working through that has been super helpful too. I think just, you know, books have been helpful, just giving me new mindsets. And my brother, he's a little bit older than me. And he is someone that just really started to open my mind to just different mindsets and different perspectives and seeing things in a different way and stuff like that. So he really, really was the person who I first think opened my mind to just seeing these other things. And then, you know, we have a great relationship. We're like best friends. And that, I think, like I said, books have been helpful too. And then really just like the active, continuous practice. When I moved to San Diego at 30 years old, I started yoga. Never did yoga before that at all. I've only been meditating for the past 1.5 or 2 years, you know, and those things have definitely helped me out as well. Yeah, so I feel like those really have been the main factors that have kind of, you know, gotten me here. And then really just realizing, man, it's like how much happier I am when I am in a good mood, when I have positive thoughts, and just reflecting on those moments and realizing, okay, like this is who I want to be, you know? And it's really a lot of self-reflection. You know, you have to have those moments where you're just aware of yourself and your being and the way that you're acting, and you're aware of the things that are making you happy to do more of those, and then you're realizing the things that are not making you happy, not putting you in a good place, and trying to obviously avoid those things or just not do those things as often at all.
I mean, thanks for opening up about the temper.
Yeah.
Now I know that because I also have that, and so now I have a whole slew of questions, right? So I was the same way. I was most of the time a really happy, fun, weird Cale person. I was just myself, right? And I don't know if it was at the point of junior high or later in elementary or like, you know, starting to be the pubescent age for me, but I started getting more and more frustrated and also losing who I was. I wanted to fit in a lot more at that point in time. Yeah. But I also, that was a different type of temper, but definitely a temper of just, I'm curious, what was it that really frustrated you? Like, was it losing? Was it competition? Was it like not having control?
You know, it was more like not having control of situations. Or, you know, if somebody, you know, was rude to me or mean to me or something, or, you know, there was a lot of times too, when I was younger, you know, I didn't like to listen to, you know, my parents. I didn't like to be told what to do, honestly, you know what I mean? And being younger, you know, you don't have that much control over things. And when my life was like dictated, it just angered me in moments. And I really didn't want to be told what to do, which is just not a good mindset to have. When you're a kid, it's like being told what to do is like, you're being respectful of your parents. You're being respectful of this situation. And that was probably a thing for me. And, you know, just like it's tough to even say, just like little moments, you know, I would just boom. And I feel like a lot of times too, I would let things build up, you know, no matter what it was, you know, I would try to keep a cool head and try to keep calm, and then it would build up, and then it would build up a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then that was it. And then it would really, really go. And, you know, it just, I can't express enough. It was just something I just didn't want, who I didn't want to be. And when I was a senior in high school, I was like, I have a late birthday, so I was like 17 at the time. And I went to go see a therapist, and he didn't help at all, honestly. And I condone that a lot. I really, really do. Just for whatever reason at the time, maybe it was me, you know what I mean? It could have just been who I was at that time, and it didn't work. And that's fine. You know, my parents got divorced when I was a kid. I saw a therapist when I was younger. That was super helpful. I highly condone talking to people, getting your energy out, working through things. But for whatever reason, that didn't work at the time. And, you know, just as time went on, I can't express this enough. It took time. It took a lot of practice, and it just took a lot of time, you know, and it really is just actively working on when those moments come, you know, realizing that's not what I want to do. And that's not, you know, how I want to act. And now as I'm getting older and I fill my life with more gratitude and more love and more kindness, it just becomes easier. You know, those situations that maybe would have aggravated me in the past, I'm just like, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth me getting angry right now. You know, if I can't even change the situation, if this is something I have no control over, then what is the point of me getting angry about it, you know, or being upset about it or freaking out about it? So just like, you know, in practice and age and you're just bringing my awareness to it more and more and more. And really just having a heart filled with love has really helped me really, really move past that. It's when I tell people I used to have a temper when I was younger, it's really nice that people say this, but it like blows their mind almost, you know, and that's cool. And honestly, it feels good for me because I know that I've grown a lot, but it really wasn't easy. And I really want to make that clear. You know, people see me now and they see who who they look at me as now. It took years to get to a place where my temper didn't control me.
Yeah.
Anymore, you know?
I mean, that was a question I had because, I mean, honestly, everything you talked is really, really resonating with me. And for a couple of reasons. One is kind of what we talked about way at the beginning, is living into somebody else's expectation. And it goes back to kind of like your childhood is like, I don't like to be told what to do because that's being told who I'm supposed to be. And that's how I kind of, as I reflect on it, that's how it kind of seemed to be. It was like, I don't want to be told what to do. And then you learn that in order for you to kind of get through childhood, you got to do what you're being told. Well, then as you go into adulthood, you start living into those expectations of who you're not. And for me, and it seems similar to you, is that's when this pent up energy comes around, because I'm setting up expectations with this, whatever relationship I'm at, whether it's work, whether it's with this friend or this, like I'm being this person I'm not, which is like a cage, and it feels like it just bottles up, and you set this like personality expectation that you can't uphold, and then it just kind of blows up. And so the question that I had for you was, you said in your early 20s, you kind of noticed that that's not the life you wanted to live. But the second thing you said, or later you said, it took a really long time. Just to put into perspective for me and for everybody who's listening, because I feel like at 20 years old, I'm 29, I'm still like savagely working on getting rid of that and not having that control me. And it's something I did notice and took action on 9 years ago, right? So I'm curious to know if you can kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean, literally, so again, it's been something I've had since I was a kid. So literally in my entire life. And I finally, guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for joining so far. The rest will be released. We will definitely let you know when it's going to be. I love you guys. I will see everybody later. So, yeah, so again, having that my whole life, and I feel like maybe at like 17, when I went to go see somebody, that really was like the first time maybe that I really was like, okay, this is something, and I didn't even want to go, it was real. I think it was like my parents being like, okay, like we gotta do something about this. You know what I mean? And so I think that was like a good first step, even though that situation, didn't work. It probably was the first time that I was like, okay, let's start working on this. And then, when I went off to college, I mean, it was still there, it was still there. And sometimes it could be something that I had an explosion maybe like once a year. It wasn't like it was all the time, but then sometimes it could happen twice in 4 days, so it ranged. And when I went to college, me and my mom, because of my temper, had some tough times during college. And I think just reflecting on that and the way I acted towards her, I just, I didn't feel great about how I acted towards her in certain ways. And I remember one time I was literally sitting at my desk in college, my senior year, and I was writing her an email just apologizing. And, it finally like hit me. It was like, dude, you were not right in these situations, and I don't know exactly what it was that helped bring my awareness to it, but I remember that was like a huge moment for me. I was literally bawling as I was writing this message of like apology, and then how I know, how I didn't act right. And we have an incredible relationship now. And we did my whole life. It's just, there were a few years in like the 17, 18, 19, that wasn't great. And I think that helped get us, to an amazing place. And we really do have a phenomenal relationship. And so I think that was something too, that I was like, okay, dude, like this isn't cool what you're doing. You know what I mean? There was another time with my grandpa where we got into a big argument, and I was wrong. I did something I wasn't supposed to do. He called me out on it. And my defense mechanism was to just shout back at you. I knew I was wrong. I didn't want to admit it. And that's how I reacted. And he just very plainly to me, he's like, just in life, when you messed up, admit you messed up. Just admit it. And that to me, I still remember that was like a moment for me when I was really like, okay, take ownership for these things. And when you can take ownership for the not so great kind of bad things that you're doing, you want to change those a lot more. When you're blaming someone else, or you're saying, well, this person caused me to act this way, you're not taking responsibility, and you almost feel helpless in that moment. And so that you don't have the control and the ability to fix it. So I remember that was like a big thing for me too. And then, just as the early 20s went on, and, just kind of thinking about it more and understanding that's not who I wanted to be. And just gradually over time, it's something I just really worked on. And that was the biggest thing for me. Again, like I said before, having those moments, that split second before I blew, think of the consequences. Think about how this is going to affect you later. Think about now the conversation you're going to have with this person when you apologize, or you won't apologize, and you might lose this friend forever, or whatever the case may be. And then one of the biggest things for me, really, I met my fiance when I was 28, and she is just filled with incredible amounts of just love and goodness. And she's just like emulates love. And when we started dating, I had a moment, I was like drunk one night, and alcohol, I mean, geez, you know, it's just not good for you. I mean, I still drink occasionally, but you know, it can bring out the demons. And I had a moment and where I kind of exploded, and she wasn't even there. It was like over the phone, and you know, that just wasn't a good moment. And other things too, and just talking with her and understanding where she came from a life where like people didn't have tempers, you know, they talked about things, they expressed love all the time. And just, she never said it to me. She never was like, hey, you can't have a temper if we're going to be in this relationship together. It wasn't like that. It was just like her vibe and her energy and who she was. I felt it. And I was like, it is not cool for me to explode around this person. You know what I mean? Like, she's such a symbol of love. And you know where I'm trying to get to, that I know, and I loved her off the bat. Like, it was crazy. We fell in love very quickly, and I knew I didn't want to lose this person. And with that, I was like, okay, listen, I want to be in this relationship with her. I want to be in her world. I don't want to be, you know, where my temper can take me sometimes. And she just really helped me get through that. And I can't say it enough. Like, she wasn't ever telling me, hey, you can't do this. It was just, you know, you become the people that you surround yourself with. You know what I mean? Like, they reflect on you. And she really did that for me. And really just knowing that it's like, hey, it's not cool to act that way around her. Like, she isn't going to accept it. She's going to be like confused. This isn't something that was ever in her world or reality. It really gave me, you know, those next necessary steps to move away from that part of my life that I didn't want to be any part of. And then with yoga and with meditation, and again, just actively working on it, is really what got me to really where I am today. And, you know, I still feel like there's things I can work on. You know, I don't have explosions anymore at all, but there's moments where, like everybody, we get mad, or we get angry at a situation. And even in those little ones, I'm still trying to bring myself back and be like, this isn't going to do good for anybody. Me getting angry or me being, you know, pissed off right now isn't going to help the situation. It will do nothing at all good. So, you know, even in those just little moments, I try to, you know, pull myself back, you know, bring myself inward and look at it from just a better, more positive perspective.
That's a lot. No, it's just all good stuff, because I mean, here's the thing, dude. It's like you said something. One, it's just those repetitions. And you're bringing it more onto a micro level. And the micro level, in my opinion, is the time and the energy around it, right? The time I spend in that boiling point, and then the amount of energy that's, you know, it contains, right? You know, and just making these little, you know, making it smaller and shorter, smaller and shorter, smaller and shorter. And one of the things that you talked about was just people. And I think, you know, eliminating people out of your life is not an easy task, but one that is a really kind of an easier way to kind of transform your life. Because, for example, like, and I commend you for, you know, the door was opened by being with your fiance. The door was open for you to say, I can still behave this way and probably lose a relationship, but having the awareness, like we've talked about, and then actually making a decision, concretely saying, this isn't accepted. I'm not going to beat myself up when I do have it, because I'm human. I realize this thing's happening, but it's got to become unacceptable to me too.
Yep.
And that means it's unacceptable, which means it's non-negotiable, which means there's no negotiating. Can I do it this time or not do it this time? So I commend you on, you know, kind of stepping through that door. But I wanted to quickly kind of talk about it. Not quickly, we talk about whatever you want. I wrote down something actually that I think is funny. A few years ago, I don't know if you ever heard of the show Eastbound and Down.
Yeah. So
there's a scene in there where his nephew is on, and for those of you who've never seen it, it's a hilarious show. I didn't really watch it, but anyways, he's staying with his brother and his family, and he has a jet ski, right? He doesn't want to get rid of his jet ski. So his nephew comes and rides on the jet ski, and he starts yelling and just being really mean to his nephew. And his nephew gets upset, and he realizes that he's made his nephew upset. But there's a quote in there. It's like, I realize that I screwed up, but I'm not going to stop yelling because that will mean I have lost the fight. And so when you were kind of telling the story about your grandpa, it's like, it's just like, you can pull back from that. So I wanted to at least get some of that story out there because I thought that was hilarious. And that moment stuck with me for like a decade. So have you had to eliminate people or reduce people out of your life just so that you can continue to move forward? Maybe subconsciously, maybe not really noticing until I asked you the question.
That is something I thought about before. And, like right in this situation that helped me, it wasn't eliminating someone out of my life. It was bringing somebody new into my life, which really, really got me to just a really, really good place. And you know what? I'm just trying to think. There's nobody I like purposely eliminate out of my life. There's definitely, I'm sure, been people over time that subconsciously and maybe very consciously I knew, weren't the best for me, and then just kind of faded away from them. Not even like realizing, not even doing it purposely, but just, being like, okay, well, I want to put my focus into more positive people or into more positive situations. I would just go that way, which would eliminate me, from this person without even really, really realizing it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think it's really, what's the thing? I don't know if you necessarily need to immediately remove people from your life. I think, the way that you want to go, you will go in that direction. And if those people aren't good for you, they're going to fade away from that direction. And I think one of the most important things is, bringing more people who are good for you into your life. Because even as you do that, it's going to leave less room for other people. So those negative, whatever people, however you want to call them, they will fade away because there's just not enough time, and when you're spending your time and you're focusing it more on a quote unquote better person for you, then it eliminates time for you to spend with that other person.
Yeah, I think you're John. And it's kind of like forming new habits, right? It's easier just to build new habits than try to break old ones and kind of
Exactly.
push those out. So what are the next big steps for Justin? Now, I know obviously you moved to New York. And are you guys getting how are you moving? Are you moving in a RV? Are you Airbnb in? Are you renting a place? Like what's next?
So after New York, so what we did is we shipped our car back from San Diego, and we packed it with like the stuff that we're going to need for like the next year. So I'm pretty excited to live in like a minimalistic mindset. You know what I mean? Where there's like not too much stuff. And we honestly, we sold a lot of stuff before we left. We either sold stuff or we just like gave some stuff away to people. So we came back with not too much stuff. So when we go, we are going to drive. We have a couple animals. We have a dog and a cat. So when we go, we will drive there with our car packed, with the essential things that we need for that time frame. And then we're probably gonna Airbnb places. We figure that might just be like the easiest route. If we can rent out a place and just pay like a monthly fee for 2 to 3 months, we'll do that. So we just have to see kind of what's there and what presents itself to us. But that's the move, man. We're gonna drive. Do it. Yeah.
I love all of that, man. I mean, that's fun stuff, dude. It's kind of like not really knowing and just going out and doing the stuff. Well,
Yeah.
So Spread Love movement is massive, right? It has a massive Instagram following.
Thanks, man.
What's the future hold for Spread Love movement? Just in your opinion, I'm just curious. That's a big deal. You got a lot of people following.
Yeah, man. It's great as the followers increase. All right, like the number sounds cool. It's like, okay, you hit this number, like it sounds cool. But in that though, it just means more and more people are able to bring some good videos and some more love and some more good energy and just good vibes into their life. So I'm like, whew, as it grows, I'm like, yes, hopefully, I'm impacting this many more people's lives in a positive and loving way. And, I'm just hopefully, sprinkling just little moments of happiness into their life. And I'm a firm believer that it's like, you can watch this video and you feel great and you have this amazing energy, and that could dictate the rest of your day. that can just take you on like just a much better path because you're just in a better place. And my goal really in life is just to create more happiness in people, and to have people just be happier and live a better life, because I know it's true. And I know so many people out there think they don't deserve happiness, think they don't deserve love. And I want to make it super clear that everybody does. And I really want to push out the idea too of self-love. And I really think you have to feel self-love. You have to feel good about yourself in order to, and everyone's not like this, but in order to push that out to the world. So can you imagine, and this is my goal, if everybody on the planet felt really good, and had just a better perspective on life, and looked towards the good, and looked towards the love, and looked towards the positivity more and more and more. And everybody was kind of, the collective consciousness of the world was on that level, how much more peaceful and how much more amazing every single thing would be. If every single person you walked into on the street, and I understand we're all going to go through tough times, but if every person you walked into on the street was at this level of energy, and at this level of being, oh my gosh, our reality would drastically change. It would just be such a way more beautiful and kind one. So I really want to, my next real big move and goal and spread love is I want to go around and speak. Like, that is my passion, getting this energy and getting this perspective out to the world, and allowing people to know that you can be happy. Just a couple different changes in your life, you can feel so much more love, and you're going to be able to give that to more people. You're going to feel that way more, and you're going to just have that many more moments of life filled with joy, filled with happiness, and filled with love. And that's what we all want. Everyone wants to just be happy. Everyone wants to feel calm and peace. And I want to help people get to that level. So to go around and speak is something I know that I'm going to do. It's something I know kind of that not even that I have to do. It's something that I know that I can make this change. And for the betterment of these people's lives, it's something I have to pursue and know I have to accomplish and I have to achieve. And then, you're killing it right now with the podcast, man. I want to do a podcast too. So those are, I would say, the biggest moves. Other moves too are just expanding out more to other platforms. So obviously it's, a good following on Instagram, but I want to get out to other platforms so I can just reach more people. And I can, again, it's not me reaching more people. It's this idea of love and kindness, reaching more people and having that sort of effect on as many people as possible.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the nice words. You have this calling. It's almost indescribable. It's that gut pull. It's that heart pull that you're trying to articulate it with words. And I do the same thing at Justify, and it's like, it's a really simple mission. I want you, the listener, to figure out what makes you happy, and most of the time that's being who you are, doing the things that you want to be doing over the period of your life, right? Like, and I want to kind of, you touched on this, but being somebody that, like, doing something in the future, like, I want to be a comedian, right? And I want to be a comedic actor in 10 years. Like, there is something that you can do today, as in being that person, like your mannerisms, how you go about your day, and that's very doable, right? It's like very doable to start writing a single joke a day or something along those lines of really being that. And so I think, we share that mission, we share that vision. That's why we're together on the Zoom call right now, is to figure out how to, extract that out of people, cultivate, for me, I think what we're doing here is just creating what I've always noticed when I drive Uber, whether I'm at work, whether I was in high school. Like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I am. And I feel like it's because I always gave the impression that I'm creating a safe space of curiosity and not judgment. Like, I don't ask you these questions to then judge your answers. I ask these questions so I can learn more about who you are and your perspective. And
awesome.
To me, if the more we can create a safe space, that's kind of like, I have a hashtag. It's, you have my vote to be you. And it's like, that's the biggest thing. Is like, if you knew someone out there, had your back and being who you are, truly, and like would forgive you for making mistakes along the way, like, you would be willing to take more risks, whether that be in business or, putting yourself out there. And so to me, that's kind of what this is. And it's a reflection back to me saying, I have my own vote to be who I am. And that's got to be okay, because what's the alternative? To be unhappy, to, be angry, to blow up. Like, all those things are fine. You can live whatever life you want, but you can also live any life you want. So you can choose to live a life full of chosen suffering, or one with, chosen happiness. So I think there's a huge difference there. So we need to collaborate on some more things here so that we can help each other expand. I always, when I owned a CrossFit gym, most people fear competition, and I don't see it as competition. When I owned the gym, I wanted someone literally to open up across the street from me, because we would have had a bigger awareness of, and it's bigger than me. The gym that I owned was bigger than me. The idea of happiness, and, you said it earlier, it's bigger than me. It goes on beyond me. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just hopefully a catalyst in the process to kind of, move that forward. So, hats off to everything you're doing, man. And I think you're definitely making that impact. I'm excited to hear, you're doing speaking for sure, and to see kind of the other legs that stem from all of it.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that a lot. And I just want to touch on really quickly, it's so important, I feel like, for people to truly be themselves, to bring happiness out of themselves. When you're exactly who you want to be, it's way easier for you to be happy, right? You're not shying away. You're not acting in a different way. You get to be yourself. As long as you're not hurting somebody, please, everybody, be you, right? Such an advocate of people just being themselves and like, do you. I love your hashtag, man. I honestly just wrote that down. That's such a good one. And I think that is a key thing in bringing people happiness. And vulnerability is such a part of that, right? So I feel like you got to be vulnerable to be yourself, and you have to be in a situation, in a group, in an environment where you feel like you can be vulnerable without being judged, right? It's way easier to be yourself when you realize, or you think that person isn't going to judge you. And that is just crucial. And, the temper talk, I'm glad we got to jump into that. That was something, it's vulnerable for us to share that. And in the beginning of this movement, for a while in the beginning, I didn't want to talk about that. It just was something I was shying away from. I was like, how are people going to judge me if they know the Spread Love guy used to have a temper, and I was like, well, what could that do to me? Or, literally, how are people going to judge me? And then I realized that's not what it's about. I think, right, being vulnerable, that is something I'm trying to push out. I think it is incredibly important to be vulnerable, to live your best life and to be your best self. And that is a way for me to be vulnerable, right? So instead of me looking at it in this negative way, it's like, okay, hide away from this thing. Don't let anybody know about it. It's like, how can I change that? Okay, I can use this as a platform. I can use it as a way to be vulnerable, to have other people, be vulnerable and share themselves without worrying about being judged. And if I can help some people along the way get through this, the same situation that I was going through, like, how amazing is that? And that's one of my big things too. I'm like, if I can help somebody, who has a crazy temper, who thinks that there's no way out of this, it's like there really, really is. You know what I mean? And to be able to, hopefully be, a person that can help bring them away from that, to me, is awesome. And it's really just pushing the idea of vulnerability. It's like, I'm not just, saying we need to be vulnerable. It's like, I have to be vulnerable. I have to, be the example in order for people to feel okay about it, and for people to, know that I'm being genuine, and hopefully to give them the courage and the ability, to be vulnerable as well. And a big part of it too is like, hey, we all had our downfalls. We all have our downfalls. We all have, the not so great things about ourselves, and that's okay. It's about, where did you come from that? Are you actively trying to grow from that? And that, to me, that's something that was in the past for me. And that is another story too, where I can, show and tell people that you can grow from these situations. And that's something that I am, I'm proud, and I feel good, and it gives me good energy to know that I was able to come from that place to where I am now. And I just want to show people that, you can obviously also do the same thing.
I think that's we're always looking for, as a customer or anybody, it seems that you're kind of always looking for someone who has gone through it, right? And so
yeah.
One of the things about being vulnerable about this is like, and I'm right there with you with the thoughts. And so I kind of want to even kind of bundle that up in maybe a different perspective for some of the audience here. It's just like, and I'm fortunate enough, I guess, that I had got to a melting point where I had to share all my negative stuff, and I didn't care what anybody else thought. But that's the thing, is like, one is we have to then get through this passage or this part where being vulnerable, the message that you're sharing isn't for the people who are judging. It's for the people who actually need it. And so the people who have some anger or have some like sort of temper, right? It's for them at that point. You're not speaking to anybody else. If you don't have a temper, you never had that, judge away, because it doesn't matter. And the other thing I want to talk about just judging is like, we kind of talked about like, move away from the people who are judging you, right? But also don't be one of the people judging you. Don't stop judging yourself in the process, and move past that. So a lot of times it's like, I have another little saying. I guess I have these little idiosms. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's like being authentic increases the speed. It increases the speed for literally everything who you are, the friends you're meeting, the things you do, the job you have. So it's like, be more authentic to who you are, and sharing your story is just being authentic to who you are, right? It's not being negative. And sometimes that's the easy thing to get caught around, is like worrying about what other people think. Is like, if I share my story of bankruptcy and depression and feeling like a loser because I'm not married to my wife, who's the kid, my kid's mother, and I feel like if I don't, it's like, I have to share those things. This is the process for me getting here, and moving through that is so beneficial for the person. We talked about living with moments of joy. So yeah, I mean, definitely keep sharing that story, because it's creating connectedness 100%.
Dude, and I appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable, and for you creating this space that I feel 1,000% comfortable sharing this with you and on your platform. So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. I mean, is there anything else that we want to leave for the audience as we it's been a great episode, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I just feel we've been vibing. It feels good. I appreciate your mindset and just who you are, and the message that you're trying to get out there. The things that you've touched on throughout this whole episode have made me think about more things about, the whole idea of like not judging people, about being in the moment. Like, these things are amazing, because having these conversations and being able to share these conversations with other people allows them to be more aware of it. So it's these conversations and things like this that are bringing those ideas more and more into my life. You know what I mean? And making them more of who I am, which are just going to help me grow and become a better person. So I appreciate you a lot, man. This has been an awesome interview. And I'm just grateful to be here. I think the things that we touched on are super important. And I just think, it worked out really well with me and you, just because I feel like you're right there. We really do have a similar mindset. And when you can connect with people like that, I mean, this conversation is going to help me grow. And I know it's going to help the listeners grow and, just live a happier and better life as well.
Oh, man. Beautiful. Well, this doesn't have to be the end of it. Obviously, it's some collaboration. I mean, it's funny. I get in the Uber and people are like, I'm not going to tell you my idea because I don't want you to steal. Like, I have so many ideas. I don't need yours. I promise. So I do have kicking around a few ideas where we could maybe expand our reach a little bit and collaborate on some things. Just have some fun, really, at the end of the day. So let people know where they can find you, whether they can get a hold of you, how they can contact you, how they can participate. Just spew it out there for everybody.
Appreciate you, man. So if you want to check out Instagram, like we said before, is the biggest platform that I'm on right now. It's just Spread Love Movement _ Real easy, right to the point. And I hope you join. I hope you check it out. Not for me, but for you, so that you can have just moments of happiness and love brought into your life. And so you can feel that good energy, hopefully on a regular basis. And on other platforms too. I'm on Facebook, on Twitter, same handle, Spread Love Movement. If you type that in, it will pop up. And then I also have an online store where I sell apparel, t-shirts, long sleeves, sweatshirts, hoodies, tank tops. We're in a tank top right now. Good vibes all day.
Love that one.
And for a really long time, I was donating a portion of the proceeds to a dog rescue in San Diego. That's actually where we got our dog from. And I recently switched off of them, and I have to figure it out. And what I typically do, I'm gonna throw it out to my audience and ask them for any nonprofits or charities that I can donate to, because I want to switch it up. I want to keep things fresh, and mostly I want to be able to spread the love to different organizations. So I'm in the process right now of figuring out what that next one's going to be. I'm really going to let my audience decide that. So that would be cool. But if you want to check out some of the apparel, definitely go do that. If you use the code at the end, discount code LOVE in all caps, it'll give you 20% off the whole order. So, just trying to spread messages of love that way, to have people walking around with good vibes all day. I have one that just says, spread love, spread love, spread love. I have one that says kindness is cool, just to get those out and have people be wearing those messages so that when you're walking on the streets or you're somewhere and someone sees you with that message on your chest, you're really showing that. They're going to feel that good energy. They're going to know that you are a person filled with kindness and filled with love. So that's a big part a big motivating factor for the store, is to help out nonprofits or to help out, other organizations that are doing something really good that I would just love to help fuel and love to give back to. And so people can just walk around with messages of love, right on their body. And the name for the link to that site is it's www.spreadlovemovement.co. And that's where you can find out.
I'll put all that in the show notes for everyone, and that's amazing. I love every aspect of that. We definitely have some projects to collaborate on. Yeah, and everyone, he said something there that I just want to bundle up with a pretty bow, is like, don't follow him just for him, but don't just follow it for you either. Follow it for all of us, right? The world needs we all need that. So we all need that t-shirt. We all need, go support the movement. Literally, you have no idea what a t-shirt on somebody's, wearing, just walking by without even acknowledge. You have no idea that you could actually be saving someone's life, transforming their life, being the catalyst, the catapult to literally change them in that moment to make a decision to move on a new path. And so we really need more of that. It's really quite simple. It's just putting it on, swiping your credit card over online. So
yeah, you nailed that, man. That was awesome.
All right, man. Well, until next time, Fred, I appreciate you and much love.
I'll see you, buddy. I appreciate you, man.
Bye.